Awesome. Well, we are all excited to be here. So right next to me here is Amy Swanson, and Amy is our vegan business owner on the panel. She is the chef and owner of Ladonia Cafe, food cart and catering. She's been vegan for 19 years and has more than 15 years of experience with professional cooking and baking. She's a good person to know. Invite her to your potlucks. Amy studied at the Natural Gourmet Institute in New York City and went on to intern at Millennium in San Francisco. Over the years, Amy has worked at Angelica's Kitchen in New York City, Veggie Planet in Cambridge, Massachusetts, Liz Lovely Cookies outside of Philadelphia, and Nature's Bakery in Madison. Amy opened Ladonia Cafe with the intention of showing people that food can taste great and also be vegan. Welcome, Amy. And then we have Miles right next to her. Miles is our younger vegan. He has been vegan for 5 years now. He and his family have been eating small amounts of meat for many years, but one day Miles announced that he would no longer be part of the destruction of innocent lives. 3 years later, they found out about the alliance. Hey, Miles! Since then, Miles has been a spokesperson for the many animals suffering in the food industry, and more recently, vivisected animals, the environment, and companion animals. Miles currently serves as youth ambassador for the Alliance for Animals and the Environment. And next to Miles is Allison. Allison is our vegan college student. She went vegan in 2015 as a junior attending UW-Madison after taking several environmental studies courses and learning more about the environmental impacts surrounding animal agriculture. After following a vegetarian diet for 2 years in high school, she attempted veganism as a freshman in college at UW Green Bay, but found it difficult due to the lack of information, resources, and support. Allison is majoring in environmental studies and community and environmental sociology with a focus on food systems. That sounds pretty freaking cool. She also has a strong interest in animal welfare and has protested puppy mills, volunteered for animal shelters, and has 2 adopted dogs at her parents' home. And last but not least, on the end, we have Charlie Talbert. Charlie is our older vegan. Not too old, just a little older. Charlie moved from a vegetarian diet to a plant-based one in 2004 after seeing a documentary of the unnecessary suffering inherent to all animal agriculture. He has been involved in farmed animal and vegan advocacy since then, and more active after retiring and moving to Madison in 2011. He has spoken out for animals in churches, civic meetings, and other venues, and organized screenings and other community presentations. Charlie is a former board member of the National Animal and Vegan Advocacy Group of his church's denomination, and is a past board president of the Alliance for Animals and the Environment. Welcome, everyone. Wow, this is a big group, and some people have ice cream cones, which makes me very upset, and I would like one, but I'll get one later. Okay, so we have just a few general questions that we're going to start with, things that we get asked a lot and that are probably common questions. And then we'll have everyone answer those general questions, and then we're going to open it up to all of you, and you can ask either questions for anyone who wants to respond or a specific question to one or more people on the panel. So I'll start, and maybe we'll start with Charlie on the end, since he has seniority. What was the biggest challenge for you with going vegan, and how did you overcome it?
I didn't really have a big challenge. I think sometimes it's more of a challenge to stay the way you are than to make a change. And for me, when I learned more about the unnecessary suffering to farmed animals, it just, for me, became easier not to eat them than to eat them. It was more of a challenge to eat them. But I think on a more practical level, when I was working, and this was in Kenosha, just figuring out what to have for lunch at my employer's cafeteria, which is much improved since I left. But at the time, I would have to pack my lunch and sort of figure out what to take, and sometimes it got a little repetitious. But really, that seemed like a small challenge, and lived with it okay.
For me, the biggest challenge I would say would be to find people that I could relate to and get support from. I didn't know anybody who was vegan or any support channels, and I ended up just searching on Facebook for vegan groups, and I found the Madison area vegan page, so that was really helpful. And then I ended up finding out some people that I worked with were vegan, and I had just never asked before. And then there's also a student org at UW-Madison that I found out about called NALA, which is also a group of vegans, so I joined that group. So that's been really helpful for me.
For me, the biggest challenge, there wasn't, like Charlie, there wasn't much of a challenge, but I would have to say I was pretty young when I decided to go vegan, and so I would have to say getting up the courage to speak out. I'd been thinking a lot about it. I think for me, the biggest moment was when someone was fishing, and so it's complicated, but it was like really thinking through it and sorting out my feelings for animals.
I think my biggest challenge was that is it on? It sounds like it's on. Can you hear me? Okay, cool. I grew up in Texas, so the end. I just find myself in challenging places, you know, having a vegan food cart in Wisconsin in the Dairylands, you know, I just really need challenges in my life. So growing up in Texas, growing up eating meat, and my parents and my family just having, my grandmother being like, can you just be vegetarian? You know, can you just do that? Like, you know, when I was vegetarian, she was like, oh, why? So it was, and this goes into some of the other questions about family, but for me it was just, I've always been the black sheep, and so then that just made me even more of a black sheep, so yeah, that was my challenge. Yeah, and it was in the 90s too, so the food has come a long way since then. I mean, Earth Balance wasn't even around in 97, so, you know, that was...
We had no marshmallows, people.
Yeah, marshmallows
There were
very
no
recent.
vegan marshmallows.
Yeah.
It's real.
To me, Earth Balance is life-changing. That's really, that's it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, mine's similar because I went vegan almost 15 years ago when there were no marshmallows and there was no good cream cheese. Y'all don't know how good you have it. There's really good stuff now. So it was just a challenge. My biggest obstacle was ice cream. Oddly enough, you're noticing a trend with me and ice cream. And when I found vegan ice cream I actually liked, I was like, yes, I can do this. I'm ready. And then from there, it just kind of spiraled and became much easier. So the challenges were minor and quickly overcome, especially when you find the right people to help support you. Okay, next question. What is your short 30-second reply when someone asks you, why are you vegan? Should we go? Yeah, Charlie?
I usually say something like, as I learn more about the realities of animal agriculture, I just decided I could no longer support it. The realities, unnecessary suffering, and really those are the two words it comes down to, unnecessary and suffering. I leave it like there, right there if it's really a 30-second deadline, but if the person wants to talk more, I like to focus on the unnecessary part. All of the alternatives out there, delicious, satisfying, nutritious alternatives, and just talk about some of those things and try to have a positive conversation. If I'm asked about the suffering part, I talk a little bit about that too. But generally, I found that people don't really want to talk about the suffering part. They already have some level of understanding about that, and really are just looking for information or tips on how to move more towards a plant-based diet.
My typical answer when somebody asks why I'm vegan is that there's three main reasons, being the environment and animal welfare and my own personal health. Sometimes I leave it at that if they're not interested. Otherwise I'll go into a little bit more why animal agriculture has such a negative impact on the environment and how animals can suffer when you are eating them or exploiting them, and then how being vegan can promote a better diet for yourself.
I would respond, I usually respond with something like, I believe that all beings, regardless of their race or their sex or sexual orientation or species, is created equal. So, and I would also like to help as many humans as I can. And I'd like to preserve our precious planet.
Basically everything everyone else has said. I guess when someone asked me like when or why, it's actually because of a Paul McCartney concert I went to, and there was a PETA video, and there were elephants being tortured in zoos, and I was like, that's it. And I remember my cousin being like, but we don't eat elephants. And I was like, but it's the big picture. So so that's, I don't know, I feel like it's like a Simpsons episode, like where Lisa and like Paul McCartney, and I don't know if anyone knows this, but I was like, oh, that's great. And someone was like standing right behind me, and they were like, oh, I'm gonna take that story and put it on the Simpsons. So that's your life. That's my life. And then I guess maybe this will go into further, but I feel like having the food cart is my way of doing animal rights. I really don't have any more time besides doing the food cart, and I have a kid too. So this is it. This is my way of activism. Thanks.
It's important. I think maybe because I have 4-year-old kids that my answer over the years has become more simplified. And it sort of boils down to, I don't think it's nice to eat animals. It's just not necessary, and it's not kind. And I emphasize that a lot with my girls, because even a 4-year-old can understand that. But grown-ups understand it too. And I think most people want to think of themselves as nice and as kind. And so when you kind of just point that out pretty directly, that you don't have to do it, you can make better choices and kinder choices and nicer choices, and set a better example for your family. People tend to at least think about that a little bit, and of course if they want to get into more details, I can tell them all kinds of statistics and information, but I try to focus more on someone's feeling and just on people's own perceptions of themselves, because we all want to be considered nice, decent people, and we all are, so I think our behavior should reflect that. Okay, number 3, how has veganism affected your family life and any cultural expectations or traditions that go along with that? Amy, do you want to start with that one? Because you have thoughts.
Yeah, so the tradition and cultural expectations, that's a big one with my family. There's lots of meat every Christmas, Thanksgiving, whatever, all that kind of stuff. And so it was always a challenge until I went to school for cooking and I could cook for everybody. And now it's become I cook for everybody for the holidays, which is fine because then I know everything is vegan. But it's definitely been a challenge to just prove to people that food can taste good, and then it is, that it happens to be vegan. And I just want to say one thing about that is that when I first started the food cart, I used to say that it was all vegan. And people would walk by and they would look at the menu and they say, oh, this looks really good, like, oh, these things sound really good. And then they'd see the all vegan and they'd walk away. So I was sitting down one night with my husband and my friend, and we were trying to come up with a strategy, like, okay, how's this gonna work, because it's not working. Like this, there's a very Wisconsin mindset that if it says vegan, that it's not gonna taste good. And that's when we came up with the healthy comfort food. And so almost immediately my sales went up like 30%. And now I'm like, okay, well now I'm just tricking people eating vegan food, and I'm okay with that. I'm honestly okay with that. When people will be like, oh, like what's healthy about your chocolate chip waffles that you have at Farmer's Market? I'm like, they're cholesterol free. it depending on the person, like if I can read the person, if they're gonna walk away or if they're along for the ride, then I'll be like, you know, honestly, and I say about how I started out vegan and now it's healthy comfort food, and they're like, oh, that's great. You know, like whatever's working for you to have you stay open, you know, that's awesome. So anyway, that's my long-winded story about, you know, strategy.
There's two sides to this question for me because, if you will, because I'm half Japanese, so in Japan it's like people live and breathe fish, so if I'm there or at a Japanese restaurant, it's hard, and my family there, I guess would be disappointed to know that I couldn't join them in their meal. And there's like fish hidden in things too, like miso soup. And the other side of my answer is my American family, and they're like hardcore Wisconsin. They're the definition of the like stereotypical Wisconsin person. So,
All good things.
at like family dinners and stuff, sometimes I used to feel kind of left out because they're eating food and I was like the only one of two other people who were eating like something different, but now I realize that they're more the people who are being left out from preventing suffering, I guess, and better food.
For me and my immediate family, I'm an only child, so it's just me and my parents. And I grew up like eating meat and dairy. My dad is still like an avid meat eater. That's all he ever eats pretty much. My mom, on the other hand, has gone on and off with vegetarianism. And since I went vegan, she did go back to a vegetarian diet, so I think that's helpful. But when I'm at home, my parents definitely support me, but they don't necessarily like cook around me. So I'm kind of on my own that way, but I try to cook stuff to share so they can have a taste of it and see what vegan food's like. And at family events, like holidays, nobody really goes out of their way to cook vegan food for me, which is understandable. But I've tried to get into the habit of making a vegan food to take, at least to share. I've always gotten good reviews and can share the recipe with people and hope that in following years more people can bring vegan dishes as well.
Both my wife and I come from small families, and our relatives and our parents' generation are mostly no longer alive, so we don't have some of the issues that other people have with families, but we still have some family. And some things that we've found helpful, and friends, works with friends too, is to, if we're invited over, offer, as Allison said, to bring a dish if that would be helpful to share. Sometimes that's good advocacy in itself and take some of the stress off the hosts. We found it not a good idea to talk about suffering at the dinner table. And if people ask about it, we just offer to get them some information later. We don't really get asked all that often about it though. If we're being asked to meet at a restaurant with some family or friends and we haven't been there before and they don't have an online menu to check, we try maybe even a day ahead to call during a non-busy time, see if we can talk to the chef there and see what options are available. They like that heads up, and it avoids some of the stress that you can get if you're questioning the wait person when you actually get to the restaurant about what's vegan and what's not. We found that helpful. Yeah, those are the main things that we picked.
When I went vegan, my mom said I was going to die. And she was convinced that that was true. I grew up in Wisconsin and my whole family still lives here. But now, 15 years later, my brother and his wife are vegan, my stepsisters are vegan, my stepbrother is vegetarian. So that generation in our family has a quorum. And as such, most of our family gatherings are either all vegan or mostly vegan, so we are able to sort of influence from the ground up in that sense. My 80-plus-year-old grandma makes me vegan sloppy joes every time we go because she knows how to make them now, because I told her how to get the boca crumbles and the manwich, and so she's good with it and she likes that. It's been a slow but steady progress with my family, and everyone loves my food, and they always say, well, if you just could cook for me, or if all vegan food was like this, then I would be vegan. And I think, like, I'm not that great of a cook. I just follow the directions. It's not that hard. But over time, it's gotten a lot better. At my first birthday party after going vegan, I made all the food. I made lasagna and garlic bread and salad and a chocolate cake, and everyone loved it. And no one wanted to know what was in it because they were terrified by what sort of weird, creepy vegan things I had put in the food, which really made me laugh, given what actually goes into animal-based foods and like the blood and the pasta and everything. And I was like, guys, it's just some tofu and some pasta sauce. It's not that big of a deal. So it's been good, but it's taken a while. And now that I have kids and I'm raising them vegan, and they're very emphatic about wanting to be vegan, that's helpful too, because grandma's going to do whatever the kids want. So that's nice. Yeah.
I just want to say one more thing too, and this sort of gets to Miles' point about ingredient. He mentioned fish as an example, but the ingredients sometimes can be hidden in a dish. And once we were my wife and I were at my mother's, and she was elderly and was doing her best to sort of cope with us being vegan. And her main dish was lentil soup, but it was canned soup. And I just happened to look at the ingredient list, and it had chicken broth in it. And I don't know that there's unanimous agreement on this, but we just went ahead and ate it. You know, you just sort of got to pick your battles, and we thought that it wasn't worth it to get into a discussion about that or any harm really in eating that soup.
Good point. Okay, one more question for the group. How has veganism affected your social life, if at all? Anybody want to address this one? Miles?
Where to begin? So I used to have like quite a few non-vegan friends. Usually it was just like to each his own, you know, we didn't really talk about it. We've drifted apart over the years, but once in a while we might like get into like a discussion about things like that. But these days my social life usually consists of mostly animal rights activists who are vegan. But I have some cousins who are around my age, and sometimes they might, I feel like they feel guilty about their meat consumption and stuff, so they'll ask me questions or tease me, and sometimes when I say I'm vegan, I get the occasional judgmental stare or like, heck is wrong with that guy? Like, what? So it hasn't really affected me that much, but there are things.
I'll speak to that with having friends that were vegan and are now not vegan. When I went vegan, I was living in Austin, Texas, and during that time, the like punk rock, hardcore music scene was very vibrant, and there were many bands that's what they talked about were veganism and animal rights, and so that was definitely the scene that I was in. And so I would go to shows like almost every night, and so there's a huge group of us that were vegan, so there was a very nice community, and we had potlucks every week, and there would be like 20 to 30 people at every potluck, so it was really nice. And over the years, a lot of those people that got gigantic vegan tattoos on them are now not vegan. And what I have found over the years, which is unfortunate, is that a lot of these people that I know that were once vegan who are now not vegan, It takes them a very long time to tell me that they're not vegan anymore because they think that I'm going to immediately judge them. And over the years, I've just, and I don't judge them. I'm like, I don't really understand why you're not, because you were at the animal rights tables all the time, like, all this stuff, there's no reason for you not to be except for just, I don't know, being lazy. And, but I have found that I just I'm accepting as people, as much as it's hard for me to even say it, but these are still people that I love, that I know that deep down, like, maybe someday they will be vegan again, because they know better. But that definitely has affected, my social life, because I have friends who, like, they know that I'm vegan. I mean, now it's, like, pretty obvious because I have a vegan food cart. But, but they, sometimes, they don't want to tell me that, that they aren't vegan. But I'm like, hey, look at all this food that you can eat. There's no reason for you not to be. There's really no reason. Like, if the food is the only reason why you can't be vegan, then I will cook you food. There's no reason for it. Anyway, that's my answer.
I think one thing that's hard for me is that I get a lot of angry accusations a lot of the time from people who probably just don't understand. But I have a cousin of mine who I was friends with on Facebook, and everything that I would post, even though it wasn't much, he would comment angry remarks about it, and things like that. There's some other people I know who aren't vegan, they don't know anything about it, and rather than asking questions or being curious about it, going with more of well, that's not right, I can prove that you're wrong, look at these studies that prove that you don't know what you're talking about. So that can be definitely frustrating. I try to stay calm with that, but it can be hard. But just having a few things that you say in general to people, or having some common research to back up your points is helpful, but still kind of struggling with that. It'd be nice if people just asked friendly questions if it's something that you don't understand or agree with. It's always better to ask a question than be accusatory.
And I haven't really had any negative consequences socially. In a few instances, I've had some friendships deepen as we've been with friends who've gotten interested in plant-based eating and the reasons for it, and sort of gotten into it a little bit themselves. It's just given us another bond.
Since I went vegan when I was 20, before I really knew anything about anything or had a lot of close friends, my social network has evolved really under the umbrella of veganism. And I worked at PETA and met my husband there and met many of my closest friends there. And so I kind of have been on the other side of the spectrum, where I know so many vegans and I have so many vegan friends that going out into the real world and talking to non-vegans has become something that sometimes is challenging. And I'm like, oh wait, okay, no, this is reality, alrighty. And I have to remind myself how to talk to people and not just assume that people know things or take certain things for granted. So it's been great becoming a mom and being able to meet people, parents and other folks who have different backgrounds and different experiences. And I don't usually start with, contrary to the stereotype, hi, I'm Miranda and I'm a vegan, nice to meet you. I don't usually lead with that. I try to get to know folks, and eventually it's something that might evolve in our conversations, and that's been really fun, getting to know some new people and other moms who were surprised and interested to hear about the whole vegan thing. Okay, we have two more questions. One's for Miles and one is for Allison, and then we're going to open it up to all of you. So get your questions ready. So Miles, this question is for you. How did you convince your parents to go vegan? What's your secret?
It's a long story, but I'll give you the short version. For a while, we hadn't been eating, for my whole life, we hadn't been eating meat. My dad did eat some meat, when we went out to eat, because when I was a baby and when I was done, when I could eat solids, they would like try to give me meat and I would spit it out, or so they gave up on that. And then for like the next decade, or I haven't counted the years, but we were like kind of vegetarian, but we ate like fish, and my dad would eat meat, like other meats when we went out to eat. And then we went on this the macrobiotic diet. Some of you might have heard of it, and I wasn't a big fan of that. So we were just eating fish, and that was the only animal product we were eating. And like maybe a year or two in, I announced that I didn't want to eat the fish that I think we had on the table or something. I don't remember exactly when I said, like, I'm done. I'm through forcing myself to eat this stuff. I had never really liked the taste either. And they kind of did some research, and they're really moved by what I said. At least I think they were. And because they probably were, because now they're hardcore vegans because of me. So.
Just real quick, for anyone standing in the back, there are a few seats up here if you want to be up close and personal with us, and a couple other chairs scattered about. If you're cool standing, then that's cool with us. Don't worry about it. Okay, one more question. This one's for Allison. Some people think that being vegan is expensive. How do you afford vegan foods on a budget while in college?
So I think a lot of people get confused a little bit about what people eat as vegans. I mean, if you go to like Whole Foods and you look at like their vegan cheeses, the like artisan ones can be like $10 for a package. I don't buy that every time I shop. That's like a special thing. If you look at like bags of brown rice and beans, they're some of the cheapest foods that you're gonna find in a grocery store. And I mean, bananas are super cheap. You can find all sorts of sales when you go to stores. Also, I try not to, I don't know if anybody's from Madison area, but a lot of college students on campus shop at Fresh, which is like the downtown grocery store, and the prices are like super steep there because it's downtown. I don't shop there because it's so expensive. So I go to either Trader Joe's, which is pretty close, or if you have a car, I suggest going to like Woodman's or Aldi, have really good prices, and then also checking for like sales or using coupons. If there's like some sort of really cool vegan thing that you really want to try, if you like go to their website, you can probably find a coupon for it, or if you email them, you'll get some sort of discount. So I think a lot of people say, wow, it's really expensive when they see all of like the specialty products. But I really don't eat that much that often. So I think there's a lot of, you can make stir fries, smoothies with like frozen fruit. You can shop at the farmer's market and find some really good deals. So I think as long as you're not eating like the top of the line stuff all the time, it's not too bad.
Cool. As long as you have ice cream sometimes.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to take some questions. Ooh, I see someone already. She's excited. She's ready to go back there. So we don't have microphones for you all. It takes too long to wander around. So if you can just yell your question, then I'll repeat it for everybody to hear. And if it's a question specifically for one of us, you can say that one. I want that one to answer. Or if anybody who wants to can answer, that's fine too. If you don't eat soy products, what do you do for a really satisfying protein? I think Amy should start with that one.
Well, there's beans and rice, like you said. If that's not exciting enough, then there's baked beans. No, I'm just kidding. We can just go down the bean line. I mean, there are definitely, I get a lot of questions about soy-free items, and I would say, seitan a lot of times has soy sauce. No. It's kind of hard to make it without soy sauce. Soy. Brags is soy.
Never
Brags
mind.
is soy.
Don't mind me.
No, seitan is hard to make without soy sauce.
Okay, fine.
You can maybe make it I can get back to you on that. I'll make you some seitan without soy. That has soy in it though. Are you? Are you eating my barbecue sandwich? That's over there? Is that what you're eating? Oh, okay, then no. Okay, no. My barbecue sandwich out there has soy in it. I have been getting a couple of requests for making the tamales without soy because the earth balance that I use has soy in it, and I could start using the soy-free one so that way everyone is happy. And then the whole tamale platter would be soy-free, so that would be very satisfying, honestly.
There are more and more products and some vegan meats that are based on pea protein that are soy-free as well.
Yeah, the Beyond Meat, right?
Yeah, so Beyond Meat, some of them are gluten-free, some of them are soy-free, there's just different varieties. So those have wheat gluten in them, not seitan, so there's no soy.
Right.
But they do have a wheat gluten base sometimes, and then pea protein as well, and you get a really nice texture and a very protein-rich food.
Did you have something? Yeah, go ahead.
Most foods have at least a little bit of protein, but some really very proteiny ones are rice and beans. And there's like a myth that they're not whole proteins and you have to combine them. So like rice is a whole protein and same with beans, but yeah.
We'll take one more question in a sec. Peanut butter and jelly has more protein than a hamburger. Okay. Favorite snacks that are not sugary? So more
Can they be
savory.
fried and salty?
You want healthy snacks? Healthy. Oh God. Okay.
I know that's
I'm not a health
I'm the salt tooth, and you're the sweet
Who's the
tooth.
healthy?
Yeah, healthy ones over there.
My husband's healthy.
Food, okay.
Just kidding. Allison, you have something? Okay.
This is like the classic answer, but just like cut up fruit or like veggies and hummus is really good, like portable, you can take it with you. There's certain like crackers, you can even find ones that are like whole wheat crackers. So just like crackers with peanut butter or with hummus, or popcorn that's not made with oil. It's pretty good. You get snacks, you can take them somewhere, they last a long time.
Do you want me?
So this is the classic parent question. It's a really good one. So if you decide to raise your kid vegan, are they going to resent you, basically? Or are they going to rebel and not want to be vegan? And what happens when they go to a friend's house who's not vegan, or when they're on their own making their own choices? You want to start?
Okay.
It's a serious face.
It is a serious face because everyone's gonna hate me here. Because my kid is not vegan.
How old?
He's vegetarian. He's 4.
Oh.
When he first started on solids, he would not eat solids. He only wanted the boob. And I was like, I really need you to eat solids. So, so that didn't happen for a very long time. And he was at his grandmother's house, and she had like regular yogurt there, and he ate yogurt. And my husband and I my husband's also vegan, we had to sit down and be like, okay, what are we gonna do here? Because he was losing weight. So it's really emotional for me, I'm sorry. He's vegetarian, but I tell him about veganism all the time. And when, my kid's also 4, but he is very, very picky, he eats about 4 things, which is not like me, so it's very hard, because I'm like, I eat so much. I like everything that's vegan, So it's difficult. It is, because we tried really hard. We tried to do the soy yogurt. We tried it because we're like, oh cool, he likes yogurt. We'll do soy yogurt. We'll do the other kinds of yogurts that are out there. No, he would not eat it at all.
Yeah.
And when his doctor is very understanding, is very patient, but he also was like, he's losing weight. He has to have more food. So an answer.
Yeah, it's tricky with kids, and I think I run an organization called Generation Veggie, generationveggie.org, check it out, for vegan and vegetarian families. And what you find is that every kid is different and every situation is different, and you have the best laid plans and the best of intentions, but you don't know what your kid is going to be like and what they're going to be into and what they're not going to want to eat. I tell my kids all the time, you're vegan, so you have to like beans, you just have to eat it, you don't have a choice. and we're pretty hardcore about it. But I have found that, you know, as young children, my girls are very clear about not wanting to hurt animals. They are very excited about being vegan and excited about knowing other vegans, and they ask me all the time, is that person vegan? Oh, that person's vegan, right? And I'm like, I don't know, maybe, you know. And so far they've been on playdates and their friends have been super understanding, and other parents have been so nice and just want us to feel welcomed and accommodated. And I think if you just find the right people, you're gonna feel welcomed. Of course, when they get older and when they have a job and make their own money, they can make their own choices. But I think part of why I started Generation Veggie is to give parents language to help you explain why we're vegan. It's not just because, oh, mom and dad do this thing, and so that's why we don't eat meat. It's because of our values and because of kindness and decency and how we want to be treated and how we should treat others. So I just kind of rest in the comfort of knowing that my kids are being taught these values and that will serve them. And so when they're faced with everyone drinking milk at school, they're going to know why we don't drink milk. Not just that we don't drink it, but why we don't drink it and why it's important. And I'm going to trust them to make kind choices, just like I trust other people. And if they go through a phase or they don't make kind choices, I still love them as much. But I'm going to set that example and do the best that I can, and that's all we can do, is the best that we can.
Oh,
So
yeah.
the question is, what's up with your vegan friends who aren't vegan anymore?
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
And what did you say to them?
Yeah, I would ask them, like, you know, why, and then they really don't have an answer because they know there's not anything that they can say to me to, like, there's not any excuse to say. And, you know, when they're around me, they eat vegan. You know, they definitely, like, I have one friend in particular that I'm thinking of that, you know, when I'm around her, she will make everything vegan. You know, she still knows how to cook vegan. So, yeah, I don't know, there's just not really, it's strange, I guess.
Yeah, what's nutritional yeast? That's a good question, because it's a weird word, weird name for a food, and it sounds gross, but it's not. It's really good. So nutritional yeast. Anybody want to jump in? I feel like I keep asking you. Charlie? Nutritional
Yeah,
yeast?
I would just say I love nutritional yeast. It's got a bad name, but it's great on popcorn.
Some folks call it nooch, if you hear nooch.
And related to the question earlier about just comfort food or food that's healthy for you, we love to cook seitan in nutritional yeast, coated
Yeah.
with nutritional yeast, and makes seitan such a comforting food to have. And gravy. You know, I'm from Indiana, and nutritional, when I found out you can make vegan gravy and it's good, and look it up online,
Everybody
nutritional
has
yeast
their
and
thing.
gravy, I knew then I could do this.
I've never heard that one, Charlie. That's good. You need to have gravy. GenerationVeggie.org right now, there's an article written by a mom who's vegan, whose husband is omnivorous, and whose kids are mixed because they went the route of, you know, people making their own choices in their family, but they eat mostly vegan. I would say never say never. I've known many non-vegan men who said never, who, lo and behold, went vegan one day. So it does happen. But also just think about the phrase brainwashing. We all are raised in this culture where every other billboard is for a hamburger, and there is a lot of meat is good, you have to have protein, you have to have dairy, or your bones will break. That kind of stuff, and that's brainwashing, and it's not based on science. So, yeah, there's a lot of good stuff online you can read about how to balance that.
If you're like my family, you're the only one that cooks in the family, so that's how you do it.
Yeah.
My husband doesn't know how to cook, and I am.
We're being given the hey, stop talking sign, but I'm sure that all of us would be happy to chat with folks if you want to come ask us questions individually. Thank you so much for coming. I hope you enjoy the Vegan Fest.